Let me take you back to February 2021. I was roughly 15 and a half years old, and I was going through the later half of the hardest year of my life, the hardest year of a lot of people's lives. I had developed serious anxiety and depression, was in a toxic relationship, and in a way I had lost myself. I was often never comfortable or happy. My family tried very hard to help me, which they did. However, being around everything that I had been for months on end was just like a block in my growth and improvement. So, in mid-February, I went up to Seattle, Washington to spend time and visit my aunts. I'm quite close to these aunts, and I know Seattle quite well. I've been there roughly 12 times by then. So the area and the city was familiar to me. My aunts are a bit like older versions of myself, or maybe I'm like a mini version of them, and they're outgoing and goofy, and they love impromptu dance parties. And so I go to Seattle, away from my room, away from Carmel, away from my whole little world that I had been for a year now. And I took time to be present, and suddenly, it became the perfect environment where I could just be my genuine self again. I had lost this feeling that I had missed, and I was home again. So it was this first happiness and this comfort that I had felt in so long, and after those 10 days, I came back to Carmel with every intention of finding that feeling back here. And so, luckily for me, school was starting up again, and sports and all the activities that I loved ended the toxic relationship, and suddenly, things just got a lot better. I became happy again. So that's when I realized, for me, home was this happiness feeling and this comfort. I don't just find this feeling in Seattle with my aunts, but I find it here too, in this community that I love, at this school that I love, with the people, my family, and my friends that I love. And so I began thinking, what really is home? Because there was a time in my life where Carmel didn't really feel like home, yet this is the only place I've ever lived. And so for people with different life experiences than my own, what really was home? Hello, my name is Peyton Kelly. I'm a junior here at Carmel High School, and a short tidbit about myself, other than everything I just shared. I play water polo, basketball, and lacrosse. I love to paint. I'm an aspiring graphic designer. My dog is one of my best friends, and my favorite color is orange, which I feel like is important information about myself because not many people enjoy the color orange. There we go. So, ever since my realization that home is really never the same for two people, my desire for investigation about what home really is grew. So through my own experiences, conversations with friends and family and peers, I developed 3 more distinct categories of what impacts perceptions of home. These being social impacts, emotional impacts, and physical impacts. Along with those things, I also developed a survey in which I put out on my Instagram, and I searched for answers to questions about what home meant to other people and why. Home can be different for two people who even live in the same house, who you would expect to be so similar because they live the same life. I have an older brother. He is a freshman in college, and despite living the same life growing up, we are in some ways polar opposite. We do share some similarities as like throwing the football in our backyard, playing some video games together, spending time with our family, and jokingly insulting each other, as siblings often do. However, we're also quite different. My brother's more introverted, and in high school filled his plate with few activities that he became very focused in and accomplished at. Me, on the other hand, I fill my plate with everything I possibly can because keeping me busy keeps me sane. And so, this isn't just because, one comfort isn't better than the other, but it's just people have different central personalities. While I'm perfectly comfortable standing here on this stage talking to you, my brother may not be. My emphasis with this is comfort zones. A feeling of home is almost entirely correlated with the comfort zones of other people. So, for example, I'm comfortable standing here talking to you. My brother may not be, so this may spill into his growth or panic zone. Often we find that what home is for us is in our comfort zones, and if sometimes someone's comfort zone is staying home on a Friday night, watching a movie, their home may be a warm place, familiar and comfortable. Someone whose home is other people. Maybe their Friday night consists of spending time at some event with the people that they love. This doesn't mean one comfort zone is better than the other, again. It's just that different people have different ways of feeling fulfilled and energized, and which in my opinion is what makes the world so cool. So unique is that different people can live their lives joyfully in a million different ways. If I'm being honest, one of the many different emotions in which people feel are based on their emotions in which they feel are based on people and their experiences. In my survey, I asked participants to select up to 3 options of things that they associate home with, 80% of which selected people, your family and your friends. Typically, the people in our homes and close lives, such as our parents or siblings, are extremely impactful on shaping a person's perception of home. Sometimes parents or siblings, or lack thereof, can be the reason a house doesn't feel like home or the reason it does. For people who don't connect with their families, like their views and their values, going home maybe isn't the most pleasant thing. Personally, I feel fortunate enough to get along with my parents and my family. I love them very much, and I think very highly of them, and that they're totally cool, which I know is an unpopular opinion among 16-year-old girls. But I know that for a lot of my peers, going home isn't the same thing. I understand that this isn't how every family is, and I also understand that what home is for people who feel this way is that's where like the communities and passions and different groups come into play, sports teams and clubs, and that's where other people feel at home. And that's okay. So I think that it's good as people on this planet, it's good for us to feel compassion and be empathetic towards others because we don't know what's going on in their lives. It's like that, like don't judge a book by its cover, or you don't really know what's going on in someone's life until you jump in their shoes and walk around in them. Because exactly that. We don't want to judge someone's comfort environments and areas until, we don't know what's going on. Obviously, the world is filled with thousands of different types of places. Obviously, we have rural spaces, you don't have a neighbor for miles. You have concrete cities, our charming Carmel. You have smaller villages and towns and such. There are so many types of societies and cultural norms around the world as well. These physical impacts, such as location and distance, are extremely important on what home is as well. If staying local, in our district and area, town is kind of this central space, and then we have the valley and the village and Big Sur, and so distance, when you talk to a lot of the people in this area, is something that really influences their perception of home. Credits to my survey, 60% of people associated home with a place, and 44% of people associated home with moving, the places that you have and the places where you're going. Living far away from your school or your job or the place where most of your day is conducted, it can create a barrier and a boundary, and that can restrain someone's comfort and their feeling of home. Something unique about me is that I've never moved. One house, one street my entire life. Being in downtown Carmel for this long time it's made this area feel like home to me because it just comes naturally. But I have a friend whose parents are in the military. She spent the majority of her childhood moving from place to place. And now she's been in Carmel for the longest amount of consecutive years. And she shared a story with me about when she was once living on a base, many people had signs that said, "Home is where the Navy sends you." Her further explanation was is that for her, home was her family because it was constant, as she was being sent all over the world. And so a lot of times you'll find that those constant things in people's lives, that is what home is for them. I also have a friend and another peer who lives in Big Sur. But wait, it gets bigger. Oh, there we go. Her 40-minute commute to school has made finding community really difficult. She's so far away from everything she does in her normal life. And while that, she said that she finds home in herself, but she also doesn't really know what home is. Going home isn't the most pleasant thing for her, but coming to school is so far away that sometimes she struggles to escape. Home is something that is kind of taken for granted sometimes. Overlooked because it's your every single day life. Whether that's your friend, a place, a team, a person, anything. It's unappreciated because, it just kind of goes by.
We subconsciously are searching and longing for that home feeling in our lives. Without it, can experience an unbalance in those kind of not fun human emotions that we all have, despite those emotions being important. Searching and longing and striving for home is also extremely important. I encourage you to think about what your home is. Think about that happiness and that comfort that you feel. Think about what genuine joy is for you. And I encourage you to value that and enjoy it, chase it, and appreciate it. And so, no matter where you go or what you do, strive for keeping that home in your life, because if we live for those joys, life will be so much better. And so, I'm asking you a favor that when you go home today, whatever your home is, show it a little love and block out a little time to spend some time with your home. Thank you.